Hello everyone, this is Tim, and today I'm talking with Tetsubo. We're going to talk a little bit about character generation versus character creation and how some systems do things a little bit differently. Tetsubo, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello folks, this is Tetsubo here, and though you're not actually seeing me, my cat Mandarin has decided to visit us as well.
Yeah, my cat Lefty likes to kind of hang out in a lot of my videos. I think you guys have seen her before. Uh, but yeah, thank you very much for agreeing to do this. Hopefully I'll get a bunch of these videos to release on May 4th, and that'd be kind of neat. So,
Well, I appreciate the offer, thank you.
no problem. And it's kind of nice to actually get to talk to you instead of just listening to you talk and then you listen to me talk. So it's kind of back and forth a little bit. So that's kind of nice. So character generation versus character creation. Where do you want to start? Do you want to talk about what you prefer, or just go through each one first?
Well, I mean, when I started gaming, it was very much character generation. This is back in '78. So if you wanted to play a paladin, you really had to get lucky rolls.
Yeah, I think there was like multiple things that you had to have high stats in to even.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was literally a mad class. You had to have like 3 stats that were way above average to get that.
Yeah, I think I've seen those games that have that. I've been playing more of the retro clone, so I know what you're talking about. So.
And
Um,
I mean, it made hitting that mark really cool. It made like, hey, great, I'm going to be able to play a paladin. But it also meant if you wanted to play a paladin, you couldn't unless you got those rolls.
so I guess it kind of felt special, I guess, or it felt like, yes, I finally got to roll paladin. But I guess that's a little bit different than just deciding that you're going to be a paladin. So there's like some pros and cons there, I guess. Huh?
Well, exactly. Making it rare really made you feel that you hit the jackpot. You literally won the lottery. But then again, when you did have lucky rolls, there were times when it was like you felt that you had so many options available, it almost paralyzed you somehow.
Yeah, I've kind of seen that with some players too, when they have so many options. Because I like to give players options, especially when we're making characters up. And sometimes I have a tendency to give out too many options, where it's like, oh, I have all these other splat books, and I have all this and all this, and sometimes characters kind of look dizzy. They're like, I don't know what to choose because there's too much to choose. Can you just,
All right, like,
you know?
their eyes glaze over, and they're like, I don't know what to do.
I remember when I was playing a lot of D&D Third Edition 3.5, and I had all kinds of books everywhere. I'm like, yeah, I have these options. I like these books. Anything out here. And character creation would actually take a long time because there was too many options. So I don't know. In some ways, I guess character generation, where you just use dice, it kind of limits those choices. So I guess there's, like I said, pros and cons to both of them.
I mean, one of the cons to me is that you may not end up with what you want. Because
yeah,
when you're the GM, you're doing literally hundreds of things at the table. But if you're a player, you're doing one thing, that character.
that's true.
And it sucks if that character isn't what you want to play.
I've like I've always been a big advocate of house rules. I think you're a little less. You don't like those as much, isn't that correct? With games in general, usually.
I use house rules, everybody does.
Okay.
But I try to have the minimum of them.
Okay.
As opposed to a lot.
I remember a video that you put out saying something along those lines, where you try to stick as close to the core, the actual rules in the book, and you don't want to have too many house rules going on.
Right.
Yeah. Usually, what I'll do in that situation, if someone really doesn't like to play, like I don't want to make a character, or I don't want to make a player play a character that they don't want to play. So generally, I'll make some sort of way for them to, lower one stat and increase another stat, or with games that you have to roll dice for. And
Right. Stars Without Number did that. They basically said that in the event you have certain kind of rolls, you can just automatically raise one of them to 14, which would allow you to pretty much put that in the stat for your preferred class. So, that gave you the option if you really wanted to play a warrior, but your stats didn't achieve the goal you wanted, you could just bump one up.
yeah, I think even the Labyrinth Lord games. I don't really know actually basic and expert Dungeons and Dragons, but I know the Labyrinth Lord rules actually allow you to do that as well. So I think there are some rules actually in the games where you roll dice and generate characters that allow you to modify it slightly. But you're right. You can get stuck playing like okay, I'm gonna be some sort of fighter type, or I'm gonna be I should probably be some sort of rogue type, even though maybe that's not what you want to play. So that is definitely a con for rolling up characters.
But I mean, the complexity issue is one I've been facing with. I've been trying to set up a game for my wife, a one-on-one game, and she's never really gamed a whole lot. She's gamed a couple of sessions.
Okay.
And to make this more approachable, because we're using Pathfinder. Pathfinder is a big friggin' book.
Yes, it is. Yes.
I mean, even for you or I to take that book on, it's a task.
It's a tome. You're right.
And to ask a new player to hand that book to them, I mean, you're lucky if they didn't drop it on your foot and walk away. So what I did is I printed out, I asked her what she wanted to play. She wants to play a rangery type character, and she wanted to play an Ent. So I found a race that worked, a plant race, and I printed out the racial stats, the class of the ranger, and the options from the Advanced Player's Guide, printed them out, put them into a 3-ring binder, and I handed it to her as her player handbook.
That's a good idea. I've done that a couple times where I've printed out lots of things, bound things up. I had a friend that was in, I think, shop at the time, and they were making like tablets with the glue on the side, and he made a pretty nice little booklet I handed out to all my players with all the options. Because at the beginning of a campaign, I love to organize the options for characters and players and give them everything they need, and then just let them go. Like, what do you want to play? How do you want to play it? For those games that have, like you said, you can actually choose what you want to play. And for games that they roll up things, it seems to go quicker. Because like I said, there's less options, there's a little less confusion, and there isn't that big giant book like you were saying where, okay, here's a big book, you have to read it, tell me what you want, So that's a good idea you did with your wife, that narrowed down the choices, and it probably sped things up a little bit, I'm guessing.
Right. I mean, to introduce her to the idea of one-on-one playing, I ran I think it was 2 or 3 session superhero game with her, but she didn't know it was a superhero game. I basically handed her a character sheet saying, you are a barista, a person that works at a coffee shop. And I had her come up with some things like name and family relationships. And I had her give me the background of the person. And then I began to describe what was that. I ran a role play, what this character was experiencing. And over the course of the session, she began to realize that things were not normal.
That sounds like a good way to introduce someone into a superhero game. Maybe because she's making the coffee and stuff starts floating, or.
Well, yeah. She in the campaign, I basically said that she'd gotten the flu. What was the big flu we just had recently? H1N1.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was the trigger. That flu awakened the powers in certain people. And her character got sick. 3 days later, she went back to work, and she started lifting things up in a way that she shouldn't have been able to.
That's great.
Somebody robbed the store and shot her, and the bullet flattened on her rib cage. I made her Mr. Incredible from The Incredibles.
That sounds pretty fun.
And so that character creation was very much for her. She did the creation portion, and I did the generation portion.
I see. That's an interesting kind of hybrid way of doing it. That's cool.
Exactly. And for me, it was kind of easy because I was using Mutants and Mastermind. Just went online, found someone else's work that they had created Mr. Incredible for me, and stole it.
That's what's great about the internet. You can you can grab all sorts of ideas and take them and use them in your games or whatever. I wish you the best with your wife. I tried to roleplay with my wife, I think 3 times. And we just came to the conclusion that I have my things and she has her things, and it's okay to have different hobbies. And I don't even try anymore.
Well, I mean, I'll freely admit this. My goal is eventually, if I can get her interested in this, eventually trying to get us into a game as both of us being players.
Oh, okay. That's a very noble goal. I wish you well.
Because I'd like to get to play more as opposed to running games. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then that way you guys can help each other out with playing and so forth.
Because let's face it, if she's playing a single character, she doesn't need to know grappling rules or facing issues, or I can handle that.
That's true.
I've been doing this so long, you and I could handle that kind of thing on the fly without looking at the book.
Yeah,
So
it's good to have someone, at least someone in the group that's read the rules several times and knows what's going on, or at least knows where to find the rules. That's what I think you talked a lot about, having a good index in the book or a good table of contents. Those are invaluable for that.
Oh, exactly. I mean, at minimum, a table of context and a good index to me is worth the price of the book alone.
Yeah, I've played games that don't have an index, and I find that I have to literally make my own index or use like Post-it notes or tabs on the tops of the sheets, or I'll do the unthinkable and I'll actually highlight in the actual book.
Oh yeah, those little Post-it thingies you can stick in there for the colored ones.
Oh yeah, those are pretty good. Yeah,
those are really handy kind of things to use. But one of the things I've encountered frequently is because I'm a big fan of post-apocalyptic games.
Okay.
And a lot of them, particularly the older school style, everything for your character is generated. You're rolling for mutations and abilities.
Yeah,
and you get really wacky, cool things occasionally, but you also get some things that are just dumb. And you're looking at the character and like, I don't want to play this.
Well, a good example of character generation that I can think of, for 2nd edition Warhammer, I went through and I made a character, and there was a lot of dice rolling, and I think there was actually additional optional things I found online that were even more thorough with questions and, dice rolls for, what class are you, I think the only thing I picked was my race, and everything else was generated, my brothers and sisters, any injuries I had, and it was different, but I don't know about you, but I like role-playing a challenge, so I think for me, generating a character is actually quite fun, because it's kind of a surprise to me, and I like to be surprised, so.
I think that's a demonstration of the fact that you're a frustrated actor.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I do like to get more into character with things, and I do like to role play out situations that most people would probably find boring. Sitting around a campfire and role playing in the game itself isn't like a daunting task for me. So,
I mean, and I wouldn't mind doing that for a one shot or even a short term campaign. That's going to be like 3 levels or 4 levels. But if I'm going to do a long term campaign, I really want to play that character that's my concept.
So it definitely sounds like you like the character creation more than you do the generation, but maybe you still have a little bit of fondness for the generation. I don't know.
I mean, I can appreciate it. I did it when I was younger. I've used it frequently. I mean, we used it up. I can remember the last time we used kind of semi-random things was in my Game of World campaign, the Overkill campaign. But even at that point, back in the early 90s, I found myself getting frustrated with it because I wasn't designing characters that we weren't creating characters that were meeting what the player wanted.
I see.
And that was kind of frustrating for both the player and myself. So I began to just toss out the whole generation thing, and I began to say, okay, what do you want, and let's build it together.
I can see that. I guess I'm more ambivalent. I like change. I like variety. So I'll play a campaign where it's generation, and then I'll play a couple campaigns maybe that are creation. And I like both of them. I think they have their interesting strengths and weaknesses. Like for instance, in my Labyrinth Lord game, there was a character that's very much like what you were saying. He had a wizard character that died, and he likes wizard characters a lot. And the next character he rolled up really wasn't going to be a wizard at all. So I think he ended up playing a rogue, and his retainer was a fighter, I think. So he's kind of always hoped, like, maybe one of these characters will die, and my next character will be a wizard. So that's still on the back burner. But he's actually been having a good time. I think you're right. He's not having as good of a time as he would have if he would have rolled up that wizard character he wanted. Even though he's still having a good time, it probably would have been better if he would have rolled better to get that wizard, I guess. So.
But I mean, there are also systems to me that take it too far, and I know that this is probably going to upset some people, but Hero was a great example.
Oh, you mean with just you can really make anything you want, but it takes a long time to make it?
Oh, it's like reading a chemistry textbook.
Yeah, I know a lot of I know some people that really like crunchy systems, and like I said, I used to play Rollmaster a lot when I was actually younger. That was my first system, which I tell people that sometimes, and they're like, "Wow, that's nuts." But we never really played by all the rules either. So,
Right.
but that was a very crunchy game too. Lots of charts, lots of tables,
I mean, I
and
know people that love heroes for supers, champions.
I know, yeah, I know a lot of people that love Hero. Well, maybe not a lot of people. I know a couple people that love Hero, and they they just know it. They know it backwards and forwards. So for them, it's not an issue, you know.
Oh yeah, I could describe a power to them, and say, like uh, torches, flame ability, and they could then come up with the stats for that out of their head in Hero without even thinking.
Yeah, I have one friend that he's used Hero for Shadowrun. He's used it for fantasy. He's used it for sci-fi. You know, he says everything's there, man. You just need to sit down and figure out how to make everything you want, and you can do anything you want. And but yeah, that book is huge. And is it in like the sixth edition or something right now?
It's up to six. I own the fifth hardcover, and I own the first edition. I don't have anything between first and fifth. I have some of the supplements because their content is still useful. But yeah, they're up to six now, and it's 2 books, and each of them is like 400 or 500 pages.
Yeah, that's that's a big book.
But every single person I've known who loved Hero was an engineer.
I see.
Every one of them. They dealt with science and formulas and math for their life. They did it as fun.
I think the friend that I know that really likes Hero, he's actually a nurse. So, you know, but he's grown up with the system. He's played it a lot. You know, I think maybe his older brother was really into it, and so it's more like a family. He's just been around it for so long that he's just very comfortable with it.
I mean, to me, it's always been the way that these people I knew thought. This is how they thought all the time. Which isn't a bad thing. They're engineers. It's good that they think this way. Our lives do depend on their thinking this way.
Yeah, that's true.
But for me, I want something that's less complex than that. And for me, the 3.5, or actually the Pathfinder game, pretty much hits that sweet spot.
Yeah, and Pathfinder and 3.5, it's more of a character creation where you just basically have lots of options and then you just pick those options. Of course, does Pathfinder even have random rules or random? Do they use dice to generate the stats, or is it just character?
Now, you can use dice if you so choose, okay. But they also have the kind of everybody's just assumed you're going to be using some kind of a point buy.
Yeah, I thought that was the way it did it, but I wasn't sure.
They do list dice rolling conventions in the book. It's just that I don't know anyone who's ever used them.
Yeah, I think you had a video a while back that I did a response to about stat generation via dice or point buy and all that. But that's really not what we're talking about today.
I mean, one of the reasons I like generation, prefer creation over generation is that you and I, we were randomly generated. We did not ask for the genetic mix that we've got. And if I could have recreated my genes, I wouldn't need glasses and I wouldn't be a diabetic. So for me, I want that player to not be burdened with that.
That's a pretty strong point.
But I mean, I understand your position where you may find the challenge of playing a person that needs to wear glasses and is diabetic as a character interesting.
Yeah, I won't lie. I would actually find that I like characters with flaws that are not necessarily like really debilitating, but enough to just do something different. I like to do different things with characters when I get a chance to role play them out, and I just try to make it interesting for everybody at the table too. So, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yep, still here.
Okay. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. I think I can hear my voice kind of echo a little bit.
You're actually coming pretty clear through on my end, so.
Oh, okay.
It could be a conflict with your system. So
yeah, it definitely sounds like you have moved on from generation to creation, and I've sort of I grew up that way, just picking your character, and now I'm going the other way, I guess, where I'm willing to play games that have generation versus creation.
One game I read recently, and I actually haven't had a chance to review it yet, is called the Open Versatile Anime Role-Playing Game.
Okay.
And it's statless. So there are no stats. And you essentially describe what you want to play, and then you look at the traits in the game, and based on your description, you pick the traits that fit your character concept. And each trait has a point value, like 1 to 5, depending how good you are. And the goal is to mix positive traits and then drawbacks to get as close to 0 as you can get.
Sounds like an interesting system.
It is. I was quite impressed with it because it really lets you create a very dynamic character that fits the anime genre really well. Because you can have, for example, a flaw of being lecherous, or a flaw of attracting fangirls everywhere you go, which fits that entire genre of the pop star who's actually also a ninja or something like that.
Yep.
But it was kind of refreshing because it was very much presenting the player with a lot of options that weren't overwhelming. That it was saying, just tell me what you want to play, and then we'll work it out based on what you want to play.
I know a couple games that use questionnaires sort of in a similar direction, where there's a bunch of questions and you answer those questions, and that is your character. Dread is a good example of this, where you just have a questionnaire, you answer it, and that's your character.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to read Dread yet.
It's the one with the Jenga tower. It's actually a lot of fun to play, too. I think every time I've played Dread, I've knocked over the tower to achieve some amazing thing, but you end up dying at the end. It's really good for a one-shot.
Yeah, I have a huge backlog of books I need to read. Just don't have enough hours in a day.
Yeah, I'm impressed with how many you actually do get through. I need to get better at that.
Well, fortunately, the exercise I do with pedaling, I can read while I'm exercising, so that helps.
Yeah, I actually I got one of those little pedaling things that I think you have, and that's my goal. We'll see if I actually get there.
Well, I mean, if it weren't for that, and if I were having to do walks or bicycling or something, yeah, I wouldn't have as much reading time either. So I just got lucky.
Yeah, I've been actually trying to ride my bike to work lately, so that actually takes some of my free time away. All right.
Oh, sorry. All right, my cat's leaving.
They do that.
You're starting to break up a little on me.
Okay, maybe. I think we've kind of discussed things a little bit here, so.
All right.
We're having some technical difficulties, so how about we just wrap it up, I guess.
All right, then. Thank you for the conversation, Tim. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Maybe we can do more of these in the future.
All right.
All right, thanks.
All right.